Last week, a 2018 Kia Sportage with only 68,000 miles came into the shop on a flatbed. The engine had seized completely. The owner had followed the maintenance schedule in her manual religiously, never missed an oil change, and still ended up with a $7,500 repair bill. When we tore down that engine, we found something that's becoming disturbingly common in Kias from 2011 to 2021. Complete oil starvation in the lower end, with connecting rod bearings worn down to bare metal. Here's what Kia won't tell you clearly enough. Their Theta 2 and new engines found in millions of Souls, Forts, Sportages, Sorrentos, and Optimas have a fatal flaw that turns normal oil consumption into catastrophic engine failure. And if you own one of these vehicles, what you're about to learn in the next minutes could save you thousands of dollars and years of headaches. I'm going to show you the exact problem, why it happens, and the 5 critical steps that will keep your Kia's engine alive far longer than Kia's own maintenance schedule allows. The fatal flaw, why these engines eat themselves. Kia's 2.0-liter and 2.4-liter Theta, 2 engines along with the 1.6-liter and 2.0-liter turbocharged GDI engines, were designed with extremely tight piston ring tolerances. The engineering goal was fuel efficiency and emissions compliance. But here's the problem. These tight tolerances mean the piston rings can't handle even microscopic metal debris in the oil. When metal particles get between the piston rings and cylinder walls, they act like sandpaper. The rings wear down, lose tension, and stop sealing properly. Once that happens, oil starts sneaking past the rings and burning in the combustion chamber. You might think burning a little oil is normal. Lots of engines consume some oil between changes. But in these Kias, oil consumption creates a death spiral. As oil level drops, the remaining oil gets hotter and breaks down faster. Hotter oil creates more deposits. More deposits mean more particles. More particles wear the rings faster. The cycle accelerates until one day you're driving down the highway and the engine seizes because there's no oil coating the crankshaft bearings. The scariest part is this happens silently. There's no check engine light warning you that oil level is critically low on most of these models until it's already too late. By the time the oil pressure warning light comes on, you've already damaged bearings. And here's the number that should terrify you. Kia's own internal documents show these engines can consume 1 quart of oil every 1,000 miles and still be considered within specification. 1 quart per 1,000 miles means if you follow the 7,500-mile oil change interval in your manual, your engine could theoretically burn through 7 quarts before your next oil change. Most Kia engines only hold between 4 and 5 quarts total. Do the math on that and you'll understand why engines are failing. The oil grade mistake that kills engines. Open your Kia's owner manual and it probably recommends 5W20 or 5W30 oil. But here's what the manual doesn't explain clearly. Those recommendations were written for fuel economy standards, not engine longevity. 5W20 is a thin oil. It flows easily when cold, which helps fuel economy during EPA testing. But once your engine heats up, especially in summer or under load, 5W20 becomes almost too thin to maintain proper oil pressure in worn engines. If your Kia has more than 60,000 miles, or if you live in a hot climate, or if you drive aggressively, or if you tow anything, you need to move up to 5W30 minimum. For high mileage Theta 2 engines over 100,000 miles, 5W40 full synthetic is better protection, even though Kia won't officially recommend it. The slightly thicker oil maintains better film strength at operating temperature and helps compensate for worn bearings and rings. Here's the critical part about oil grade. You must use full synthetic in these engines. Not synthetic blend. Not conventional. Full synthetic only. These are direct injection engines that run hot, with turbochargers on many models that create extreme heat. Conventional oil breaks down too quickly. I've seen conventional oil turn to sludge in these engines in as little as 4,000 miles. That sludge clogs the oil pickup screen, starves the engine, and you're done. Full synthetic maintains viscosity and detergent properties much longer. Buy quality full synthetic from brands like Mobil 1, Pennzoil Platinum, Castrol Edge, or Valvoline Advanced. Don't cheap out with bargain brands. The price difference is $15 per oil change. The difference in engine life is measured in years, the oil change interval. They won't tell you. Your Kia manual says 7,500 miles or 12 months between oil changes. Some newer models even claim 10,000 miles with synthetic oil. Ignore those numbers completely if you want your engine to last. Those intervals are designed to minimize your maintenance costs during the warranty period to make ownership look cheaper. They're not designed for the engine to survive past 150,000 miles. For any Kia with a GDI engine, your oil change interval should be 3,000 to 4,000 miles maximum. Not 7,500, not 5,000. 3 to 4,000 miles. Here's why. GDI engines inject fuel directly into the combustion chamber at extremely high pressure. Some fuel always escapes past the rings into the crankcase. This is called fuel dilution. Fuel in your oil reduces its lubricating ability and viscosity. The more you drive between changes, the more diluted and useless your oil becomes. I've tested oil from Theta 2 engines at 5,000 miles and found fuel dilution levels between 3% and 5%. At 7,500 miles, that number jumps to 6% to 8%. At 8% fuel dilution, you basically have contaminated oil that can't protect anything. So even though the oil still looks clean, it's chemically destroyed. Short interval changes also remove metal debris before it can circulate and cause damage. Every oil change flushes out microscopic particles that are grinding away at your rings and bearings. Wait too long, and those particles accumulate and accelerate wear. Spending $45 every 3,500 miles on oil changes is infinitely cheaper than spending $7,500 on a new engine. If you have a turbocharged Kia, cut that interval even shorter. Turbo engines should get oil changes every 3,000 miles without exception. Turbos spin at over 100,000 RPM and run at temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees. They depend on clean oil for both lubrication and cooling. Degraded oil kills turbos fast, and a failed turbo destroys engines by dumping metal shavings into the oil system. Checking oil consumption, the weekly habit that saves engines. Most people check their oil when the maintenance light comes on. By then, it's too late. If you own a 2011 to 2021 Kia with a 4-cylinder engine, you need to check your oil level every single week, not monthly. Weekly. This isn't optional maintenance. This is life support for a flawed design. Here's the procedure. Park on level ground, turn off the engine, wait 5 minutes for oil to drain back into the pan, pull the dipstick, wipe it clean, reinsert it fully, pull it again, and check the level. The oil should be between the 2 marks on the dipstick. If it's at or below the lower mark, you're already in danger. Add oil immediately. Don't wait until your next oil change. Don't wait until tomorrow. Add it now. Buy a case of the correct oil and keep it in your garage. The moment you're a half quart low, add it. Track your consumption. If you're adding a quart every 2,000 miles, your engine is on borrowed time. Document it. Keep receipts. This documentation becomes critical if you need to make a warranty claim. And here's something most people don't know. Kia has extended warranty coverage for engine failures on many affected models, but only if you can prove you maintained the vehicle properly. That means oil change receipts and documentation of oil consumption. No documentation means they'll deny your claim even if the failure is their design flaw. Check your oil every week. Write down the mileage and oil level. Keep a log. This simple habit is the difference between a $50 oil top-up and a $7,500 engine replacement. Inspecting for metal debris. The warning sign you can't ignore. Every time you change your oil before you pour in new oil, do this. Cut open the old oil filter with a filter cutter or a hacksaw. Spread out the filter pleats and look for metal particles. You're looking for aluminum flakes, bronze or copper specks, or steel particles. A few tiny specks might be normal wear, especially in high-mileage engines. But if you see glitter, if you see chunks, if you see anything larger than a grain of sand, your engine is destroying itself internally. Metal in the oil filter means bearings are wearing, piston rings are disintegrating, or the timing chain is grinding. Aluminum particles usually come from pistons or the engine block. Bronze or copper comes from bearings. Steel comes from the crankshaft. camshaft, or timing components. None of it should be in your oil in visible quantities. If you find significant metal debris, do not drive that car hard. Do not wait for your next scheduled oil change. Change the oil immediately, even if you just changed it 1,000 miles ago, then change it again in another 1,000 miles. You're trying to flush out as much contamination as possible before it causes catastrophic damage. Some engines can be saved if you catch this early. Most can't be saved if you ignore it. And replace that oil filter with a quality unit, not the cheapest filter on the shelf. Use OEM Kaya filters or premium aftermarket filters from Mobil 1, K, and N, Royal Purple, or Wix. Cheap filters have poor filtration media that let particles circulate. They also have weak bypass valves that open too easily, sending unfiltered oil into the engine when the filter clogs. A $4 filter versus a $12 filter is the difference between protection and failure. Cut open your filter at every oil change. 5 minutes of inspection could save your engine. Now you know what Kia won't tell you clearly. Your engine's survival depends on doing more than the manual requires. These aren't normal engines with normal tolerances. They're flawed designs that need aggressive preventive maintenance to survive. If this information just saved you from a catastrophic failure, leave a comment with your Kia model and mileage. And if you know someone driving one of these Kias who's blindly following the manual, share this video with them now. You might save them thousands. Subscribe because next week I'm breaking down the 3 Kia transmissions that fail before 100,000 miles and the fluid change they desperately need. But Kia calls lifetime fill. Keep your Kia running, keep your money in your pocket, and remember, the manual is a legal document, not a longevity guide. See you next time.